Okay, so continuing on, we talked about the different models of ESL instruction. It could be pull out, it could be push in, it could be co-teaching, it could be sheltered instruction. Just depends on how many students there are and the resources that the district has and things like that. In some places where there's a lot of ESL students in the district, there might be many people at the school that have an ESL certification, and so they're just putting the students in those classrooms with those teachers. And the teachers are usually then using some kind of sheltered method, sheltered techniques to teach whatever it is, second grade or 10th grade science or whatever. For example, I have a former student who wound up at Metro Nashville, a Metro Nashville school, and almost all the kids there were ESL students. They were about half and half Arabic speaking and Spanish speaking, so like all the teachers had an ESL certification, and they just put the students, in these classrooms divided up by levels of proficiency, and all the teachers were teaching second grade, third grade, fourth grade, kindergarten, whatever, using sheltered techniques. A couple other things I want to tell you. So what are exactly ESL teachers teaching? Sometimes they're teaching English language skills, actual grammar, vocabulary, things like that. Sometimes they're teaching content. Sometimes they're teaching study skills. Sometimes they're helping students with assignments that they're having trouble with. It just kind of depends, once again, on what kind of model the school is following and what the students need. Older students who are more proficient, like in a high school, you might just be doing kind of like a study hall with them where you're teaching them language skills they need and trying to get them up to speed with everybody else. Younger kids, you might actually be teaching English skills. Or less proficient students, you might actually be teaching English skills. Couple things you need to know. Paperwork. Paperwork is part of this job. If you get the endorsement, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes, another position besides being an ESL teacher is being an ELL coordinator. And a lot of times that comes with a lot of paperwork. The ELL coordinator doesn't really teach. Rather, they're coordinating where the ESL teachers are and their schedules. They're keeping track of all the paperwork of the students, because like anything these days, there's a lot of paperwork that travels with them. The students have to be tracked. They have to have an ELL plan, kind of like an IEP, but for ESL students, where you meet with teachers, parents, counselor, and you talk about the accommodations that the student will have. And those are, again, based on their proficiency level that is determined by a proficiency test, like the WIDA Access test or the ELPA 21, or some states have their own test. So there'd be a meeting, and all of these people involved would talk about the ELL plan for the student. And the ELL coordinator would coordinate all of that. The ELL coordinator would be keeping track of the testing. They would probably be calling previous schools, if the student was new to the district, to gather paperwork from the past. These days, a lot of that is more easily tracked with these programs that schools use and the districts use and states use, the entire state. But it'd be gathering history on the student and things like that. And keeping a record of when they're tested and everything like that. They might be the person who administers the proficiency test. Another part of this is advocacy. ESL students need advocates. Usually, the students are very grateful to have a friend and an advocate, especially if they're new to the United States or new to the school. Also the parents. A lot of being an ESL teacher means trying to reach out to the parents and communicate with the parents, having conferences with the parents, trying to get the parents involved at school, which is sometimes difficult depending on the culture. I'll talk more about culture in a minute, but another part of this job is interacting with the parents. Usually the parents are very sweet. They're very grateful and appreciative of the help they get. They realize that they need help. They need an insider at the school. And so part of this job is getting parents involved at school, getting the parents to come in for conferences, helping the parent understand how they can help the child at home. Sometimes in some districts, they do little classes with the parents at night and stuff like that. That may or may not be something that the ESL teacher actually does. But parental involvement, community involvement, and advocacy are a big part of this job too. And if you're a person who likes other cultures, this is a job you might really be interested in, because like I mentioned earlier, there's the misconception that all the students are Spanish speakers. By no means. In some place you might have very few Spanish speakers or no Spanish speakers. I can think of some districts where all the students speak German and Japanese, and a few Chinese students thrown in there. Or other places in the country where many of the students come from African countries. They don't speak Spanish. They speak French, depending on where they come from, or other languages. So, if you're interested in other cultures, this is a good job, a very interesting job. You meet a lot of interesting people. Some of the students come from very sad situations. Some of them come from amazing situations. They've had amazing opportunities. Others, it's kind of sad. They're seeking asylum, political asylum, or they're refugees. Just kind of depends on where you end up. But they're very interesting people, and the parents are very interesting, and it's a good group of people to work with. Another issue is special education in ESL. That's become more and more of an issue over the past several years, because as you can imagine, in some places ESL students are underrepresented in special ed, and in some places they're overrepresented. In some places, in some districts, they don't fully understand the language acquisition process, or the language barrier has created this situation where they think the student needs to be in special ed. In other places, they're very reluctant to test the student for special ed. They kind of delay testing for special ed because they think it's a language barrier issue. Nowadays, this issue of special ed and ESL students is a very hot topic, and states all over are developing their own protocols, including Arkansas, for determining how to decide if the student needs to be referred for special ed and the whole process of testing. If you had both a special education endorsement and an ESL endorsement, you could be very, very marketable. That's something everybody's trying to figure out right now and has been for several years. I think in the near future it's going to get more standardized, but in the past it hasn't been very standardized, and some districts had a really good protocol, and some had no protocol at all, or a flawed protocol. But states are working on that. But special ed and ESL students is a big topic right now. I want to tell you about how you can get the endorsement if you're interested. This is the same endorsement you need all over the country. It's attached to some other area of license. Like I mentioned before, in some states they're actually requiring that all teachers have a certain number of hours in TESL classes. You can find that out by contacting the state you think you'll be teaching at. That means that practicing teachers are going back and getting professional development in the area. The endorsement usually covers that kind of stuff that they're looking for, the number of hours. The endorsement is 4 classes, 12 hours total. It's attached to another area of license. It's not a standalone license. It has to be attached to something. It can be done at the undergraduate or graduate level. It's a K through 12 endorsement, which is very interesting. That means your regular area of license could be high school, but you could teach ESL to kindergartners, first graders. It's very interesting. Gives you a lot of opportunities. It's very marketable. Many states have a shortage of ESL teachers. So it does make you very marketable, and it gives you opportunities to do something other than just whatever your regular area of license is. If you thought you were a person who in a few years might not want to teach 2nd grade, or might be tired of teaching 7th grade math or something like that, this is a whole nother area of opportunity for you. Because it's a K through 12 endorsement, it enables you to be an ESL teacher, which means you could be traveling from school to school during the day or during the week. You could be working with elementary school kids one day and high school kids the next. It enables you to be an ELL coordinator, where you're not even teaching in a classroom, your own classroom at all anymore, but rather you're doing more administrative work, okay? It enables you to go to some of these schools where they have a very interesting learning situation. It's not just a bunch of native speaking kids, you know, like you would find anywhere, a newcomer school or a school like I mentioned before, my previous student, where all the students were ESL students, and they actually lived very close to the school in an apartment complex, and there was a lot of interaction between the school and the community and the parents, and all of the teachers were working with ESL students. So it gives you a lot of interesting opportunities. It enables you to do some different things than your regular license. I should also say there's many opportunities for teaching English overseas. If you've ever been interested in going overseas to teach, to live, teaching English is, I mean, kind of ubiquitous, right? If you're a native English speaker, you can do it in a lot of places. Now, more and more places are requiring some kind of certificate or something. We call it usually a certificate. The endorsement serves the same purpose. Used to be, if you were a native speaker, you could just go somewhere and get a job. Not that way anymore. If you want to work at a good school, at a reputable place, if you want to have a good job overseas, they're looking for teachers with credentials to teach English. And this endorsement shows on your transcript as having those credentials. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you're interested, it's 4 courses. In the fall is the methods class, TESL 4330. That's offered Tuesday nights from 7 to 9:30. In the spring is second language acquisition. That's TESL 4390. That's offered Monday nights usually from 7 to 9:30. And the summer we offer the culture class, TESL 4370, and second language assessment 4350, both completely online. This summer those will be offered online the same time, starting whatever the first day of intersession is, going through the middle of June. So it's something like May 12th to June 16th. You can take both of them or just one of them this summer if you wish to get started. Usually we require students to be a junior to start these courses since they are 400 level courses. But sophomores can start if it looks like you're going to run into your student teaching semester. You can take the 4 courses in any order. There is no prerequisite. If you want more information about them, feel free to contact me at lboone, LBOONE at Harding.com, Harding.edu, lboone at Harding.edu. And I can tell you more about the courses. But this summer we will offer cross-cultural aspects of TESL and second language assessment completely online from intersession through the middle of June. And it's asynchronous. You work at your own pace. I can tell you more about that or send you the syllabus if you're interested. Then in the fall we have the methods class, and in the spring we have second language acquisition. Those are the 4 courses. There is a praxis test to pass. It's not that difficult. In fact, I've never heard of anybody not passing it. The 4 courses prepare you for the praxis test, plus you can get a study guide. It's not one of those praxis tests that's scary or keeps people from continuing on at all. So let me know if you have other questions. If you're interested in the endorsement, think it's a really good opportunity to think about to expand your job opportunities. Just give you something different to do. Explore other cultures. You do not need to know another language. It is helpful, but you don't need to know it. It's really helpful to understand the second language process, acquisition process. But, you know, knowing Spanish doesn't help you if at your school all the students speak Chinese or Vietnamese. So don't let that hinder you. If I can answer any more questions for you, please let me know. Just email me. I would be happy to speak with you on the phone or have a Zoom meeting, anything like that. And thanks for your interest.